Welcome to Washington Unplugged. I'm Capitol Hill correspondent Nancy Cordes. Today on the show, President Obama has called all 60 members of the Senate Democratic Caucus, that's 58 Democrats, 2 independents, to the White House today to talk to them about the health care bill. Notably, he wants them to get a bill passed by the holidays, and there are only a few days left, which means that they are going to be having to make a deal pretty darn quick. Joining me today is Chip Reid, our White House correspondent. He's there right now. Chip, what are you expecting the president to say to the Democrats this afternoon?
I think the likelihood is that he's not going to want to get down into the weeds here and say, how about this proposal, how about this proposal? I think he's going to, as he has in the past when he's talked to the Democrats, talk about what an incredibly important moment in history this is, in his view, that they've come closer to health care reform than anybody ever has, and people have been working on this for decades, and that this is the time. And if they don't do it now, it's going to be a very long time before the conditions are like this again, where you have a Democratic president, 60 votes potentially in the Senate, and a Democratic majority in the House. So he's going to make clear that this is the time. The iron is hot and they better strike now or they lose it for a generation.
So is this a pep talk or is this something more? Because everyone is pretty well aware at this point of the stakes here.
I think it really is mostly a pep talk, but I think that when he brings them all down here and puts all 60 in a room and makes very clear that all 60 of them have to be on with this, it's more than a pep talk. It certainly is some peer pressure going on here, too, for Joe Lieberman and Ben Nelson and anybody else, Mary Landrieu, others who are wavering at this point. And he wants to make clear that everybody understands everybody's got to be on this. I know Joe Biden said earlier today that he thinks Joe Lieberman is going to see the light and will end up voting for this. But certainly they are a bit nervous about it here. But they're willing to do what they have to do to get the 60 votes. And of course, Nancy, this is just one step. They still have to get the House and Senate together and get something they can agree on, and both houses vote on that. So this is a very important step, but there's a pretty good argument to be made. The toughest negotiating is still to come in January. Right,
and as you mentioned, there are those folks who are still wavering. As far as you know, has the White House exerted any pressure on them, on the Liebermans, on the Landrieux, Lincolns, Nelsons of the world to say, hey, it's time to make a deal and, and try to put some pressure on them basically to get this done?
Well, I think this meeting today, as I said, is partly to get some peer pressure out there and to put some peer pressure on them. But mostly what they have done is try to accommodate them. They understand that people have different views of this. And if they push them too hard, they might end up hurting themselves more than helping. So what they're doing mostly is trying to find ways to twist and turn this legislation so that 60 people can get on, but it hasn't been heavy-handed pressure up to this point.
Got it. All right. Chip Reid, our chief White House correspondent over at the White House today. Thanks so much for joining us.
You bet.
And on Face the Nation this weekend, Senator Joe Lieberman, as we were talking about, who is a crucial vote for the Democrats, told Bob Schieffer that he could not support the leadership's health care plan if it included a Medicare buy-in. Now, that took a lot of people, including Democratic leadership, by surprise because the buy-in was put into the bill in part, they thought, to placate him. And I'm joined now by Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio, and I'm assuming that I can count you among the surprised?
Not shocked. I know that Senator Lieberman had supported this several years ago. He did an interview a couple of months ago in support of the Medicare buy-in. I'm very disappointed because the system and we have allowed one senator to have this kind of influence and a not positive influence on this bill. So I'm very disappointed because there are a lot of 59 and 62-year-olds in Galion and Gallipolis and Youngstown, Ohio that could use insurance right now, who have been laid off, don't have insurance, might have a pre-existing condition, can't get it anywhere else. And this bill doesn't help them, and I'm not giving up. I think we still try, as this goes through the process, to get this in and to convince Senator Lieberman to go back to what he had said months ago and years ago and support this.
But where do you go from here? Do you feel like he is negotiating in good faith at this point, or do you feel that the goalposts are just being moved?
Well, this isn't, ultimately, it's not about Joe Lieberman. It's not about any one senator or any one congressman or woman. It's about getting this bill done right. And there are very strong insurance reforms in this bill. No more discrimination, charging more for premiums to women than to men. No more pre-existing condition. No more lifetime caps that if you're chronically ill, they cancel your insurance because you're too expensive for the insurance company. So there are a lot of good things in this bill. It's going to cover 30 million people as it takes effect. So we're not going to let the bill die for any one issue. I'm disappointed because I thought we were going to be able to do better. We have a good bill now. We could have a better bill, and I don't give up easily, and we'll continue, as Chip just said, the vote next week. Then then there's on the manager's amendment. Then there's vote on passage. Then there's conference committee, and there are still steps to go to try to improve the bill.
But as far as you see it right now, it looks like the Medicare buy-in is dead and the public option is dead here in the Senate.
Dead is your word.
How would you put it?
They're not part of the bill right now, likely, but that certainly doesn't mean they're dead. I mean, a lot of people in the media all summer said the public option was dead because even though 4 committees had passed it, one was not moving very fast, and many of you in the media wrote off the public option then. So I don't think that any of these things are dead.
But if it's not in the bill.
Yeah, but you guys said it will never come into. I don't want to get in an argument on the media and what you said and what I said and all that. But I'm just saying that nothing's done until it's done, and I'm still hopeful we can improve this.
So what happens next? I mean, if you take out the Medicare buy-in and the public option, does that now open the door for, say, a Senator Olympia Snowe or a Senator Susan Collins to come on board, and then you don't need Senator Lieberman?
Again, I'm not. This isn't about Lieberman. It's not about Snowe. It's not about Collins. It's about these strong insurance reforms, ensuring 30 million people that don't have insurance now. Cutting costs, making sure that insurance rates don't double in the next 7 years as they have the last 7, and as they're projected to do if we do nothing. So I don't know who the 60 votes are going to be exactly. I think that, I look at the context of history, and Republicans didn't help with Medicare very much, and we don't expect them to help now. They don't like government involvement. They've been fronting for the insurance industry for 30, 40, 50 years, and they'll continue to. We've got to get a bill that takes the insurance industry on.
But it seems like at this point, most of the negotiations and efforts are centered on figuring out some formulation of policies that can get 60 votes.
Of course. Yeah, we've got to get 60 votes. But who they're going to be exactly, we can guess and we have opinions, and it's likely going to be, as you were talking earlier, the 58 Democrats and the 2 independents. I don't really care who the 60 are. We've got to get 60 on a bill, and I want to continue to try to improve that bill up until it gets to the president's desk.
As you said, the public option, is something that you have championed throughout this process. How much do you think it would hurt the bill if the public option wasn't in it?
The bill's not as good. The insurance companies have kind of always been a step ahead of the sheriff. We have a lot stronger rules for them now. They're not going to be able to play the games and cut people off and use pre-existing condition and discriminate against women, discriminate in some cases the pre-existing condition for rape victims, for people of domestic violence, victims of domestic violence. Those days are over. So this is a big improvement. The public option would discipline them even more to make sure these rules are enforced as well as they should be.
What are you hoping to hear from the president today?
I know it's a pep talk. The president's going to put it in historical context that it's up to us. The Republicans haven't seemed to want to cooperate any more than they did with the creation of Medicare, any more than they did in the Roosevelt years when we began sort of this process. But it's a big historical moment, and we've got a job to do.
Still feel confident? You
yeah,
I
feel absolutely confident that it'll be a good bill. My only uncertainty is, can we make this bill better than it looks now? And I'm very hopeful that we can.
Got it. Senator Sherrod Brown, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it. And thank you for watching Washington Unplugged. Join us every day here at www.cbsnews.com. I'm Nancy Cordes. See you tomorrow.